All right, everybody, welcome to our first video. Today we're going to be talking about what is the shadow. I figured this would be a great introduction for everybody who's never heard of this before. I'm essentially going to break down what is the shadow and what does shadow integration actually mean. So the shadow essentially refers to the part of your mind that stores all the ideas and emotions and parts of your personality that you wish you didn't have. When you have a thought or an emotion or anything like that goes on inside your head that you don't like, the knee-jerk reaction for most people is to push it away. The only problem is when you do that, it doesn't actually go anywhere. It sits in this little trash can / warehouse in the back of your head. That thing is called the shadow. And the only reason this is a problem is because all those parts of your personality that you've pushed back there are still alive. They're still doing things. You're just not really aware of it anymore. This is where self-sabotage comes from. This is where a whole shitload of different mental health problems come from, because all the parts of your personality that you like the least are literally operating from outside of your awareness, doing things that you have no idea of, messing up your plans, screwing up your relationships, and essentially wreaking havoc because you've chosen to become unaware of them. So what shadow integration is, it's the practice of taking a look at everything that you've thrown away into the back of your mind, cleaning it up, dusting it off, figuring out what the fuck purpose it was meant to serve, reintegrating that purpose into your life so that your mind becomes a lot more whole. And as an extension of such, you become more mentally healthy, you know yourself better, and you have more internal resources and more information to feed your decision-making process. It can help you with your blind spots. It can help you with self-sabotage. I've personally used it to overcome depression and anxiety and PTSD and a whole slew of mental health problems that I personally had growing up. Some of the main ideas underneath shadow integration are essentially this. These are some of the ideas that really changed my life when I was at my absolute lowest. The first thing that a friend of mine told me, who introduced me to shadow work, is this. She said, "Chris, you are not one thing. You are a collection of different little sub-personalities. And all those little sub-personalities vary in degree of health depending on how well you're taking care of them." So me, at my absolute worst, my friend told me, she said, "You're not broken. You're just taking really poor care of yourself. And if you took better care of all these different parts of your personality, they will become healthier. They will become the best versions of themselves." So I doubled down on that. I dedicated my life to that practice. And sure enough, 2 years later, my life was so completely different that I could hardly recognize myself looking in the mirror. Because the thing about it, all these little different sub-personalities in your mind, they all have needs. They all have desires. They all have a purpose to serve. They have fears. They're essentially little living people that all have complicated social interactions inside of your own mind and inside of your own body with each other. So shadow integration is essentially the practice of taking a look at all these different parts of your personality, no matter how dysfunctional they may be, and trying to figure out who they are, what they're all about, what intention they were trying to serve, and then helping them serve that intention in the best way possible. A really good example I can give you is from my own personal life. I essentially used to sabotage my success all the time. This comes back to a fear that I had as a child of losing my father. I knew that if I ever had something that I loved, because I lost my dad, I could lose the thing that I loved. And that scared me so much that I never wanted to have anything to lose ever again. So I kept myself poor, I kept my relationships shitty, I kept myself miserable. I made it so that I never had anything that I would love enough to miss when and if it potentially left. So what I did in order to integrate that was I talked to the part of myself that was afraid of loss, and I said, "Hey, look, I know you're afraid of this, but trust me, I'm here to take care of you. I'm gonna find a better way for us to deal with loss." And that's exactly what I did. Instead of being so afraid of having things to lose that I never have anything, I decided instead to create so much dope shit that even if I lost some of it, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Now, this may sound simple, this may not sound like that big of a deal, but to this part of myself that was terrified of loss, this was everything. This was the best way this part of me could deal with this very serious problem. And it was because I was trying to deal with it as a child. But me, as the conscious adult, going into that younger part of myself, figuring out what he really needed and finding the best way to meet that need, he doesn't have to be afraid anymore. He knows that I'm there now, taking care of him, making sure that even if he loses stuff, he'll be okay. That is the power of integration. I no longer have any need to sabotage my plans. I no longer have any reason to keep myself broke. I'm happy, I have great friends, I have plenty of money, and that fear of loss barely plays a role in my life anymore. So essentially the shadow is all those different parts of your personality that you have thrown away that are now doing things that you don't know about. And I'm here to help you make sense of all that. Again, my name is Chris Roscoe. It's an absolute honor to be here. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy what I'm up to. And also make sure that you comment questions that you have, concerns that you have, things that you're maybe confused about, because I want to make sure that when I make content, I'm actually talking about things that matter to you and will help you actually make your life a whole hell of a lot better. So stick around. We're going to have a lot of good shit coming. I'll see you in the next one.